Welcome to Prison Professors. My name is Michael Santos, and today I get to have a conversation because I just learned something with a guy I consider a very good friend, a role model in many ways, a mentor in some ways, and just an all-around great dude that is a model of somebody who knows how to work toward reconciliation and rebuilding after a crisis. And I'm just going to ask you to tell the audience your name and look in that camera. We're going to look, when we have a conversation, we'll look this way.
Sure.
But just tell them who you are.
Well, first of all, thank you for the compliments. My name is Matthew Bowyer. You can find me at Matthew Bowyer 5 on my Instagram, many other social media outlets. I'm facing a federal sentencing in October 3rd, actually. Looking at anywhere from, well, it's 18-year max, as you know how that works, but looking at an 18-year max sentence, and I'm hoping to mitigate that as best I can. But based on the situation, it looks like I definitely will probably be doing a little bit of time.
And that's something that's new to me. And that's why I'm here kind of just kicking it with you, is because my understanding before was that you had a situation put in place that you expected to not go to prison. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about that, what brought you into the crosshairs of the criminal justice system?
Sure.
And what your initial plans were, or thoughts were.
Well, what brought me into it was running an illegal sports betting business and online casino in Costa Rica, and being one of the largest bookmakers in the country for the last 20 plus years. But as I grew my business and it got bigger and bigger, I had more eyes on me, and I was gambling at a higher level as well. So I didn't really hide anything I was doing.
When you talk about these levels, what kind of levels are we talking about?
Well, I was betting $1 million on games, $500,000 on games, and then taking bets of that caliber as well. So the volume and the dollar amounts were gigantic. As you know, the interpreter for the Shohei Ohtani sports betting scandal was through my website, and he bet $326 million just through my website in about 18 months.
So what was the charge that authorities hung over your head when they first let you know you were part of an investigation and they wanted to talk to you?
Sure. The three charges that I currently have that I just pled guilty to: money laundering, which obviously is a 10-year max based on the amount of money that I laundered; falsified tax returns, which is a 5-year max; and then illegal bookmaking, which is 3 years.
And what did you expect to be the outcome from those charges by pleading guilty?
Based on the mitigation that I have tried to do, and clearly, finding every avenue and measure to stay out of prison, since I'm a father of 5, since nobody wants to go to prison, and since I've never been in trouble before with the First Step Act and all the different things that I have done to mitigate the situation, my attorneys were hoping for house arrest, possibly.
Yeah, because there's no allegation of violence in your case. There's no drugs involved in your case. It's really just consenting adults placing bets. And it seems to me that the appropriate solution would have been a non-incarcerative sentence.
You would hope so, especially considering I have no victims. I paid my restitution already. I have done everything that I've been asked by the court. I have seen a mental health therapist every week, Gamblers Anonymous. Clearly I drug test. I don't do drugs, so I'm clean. And I've abided by all the rules, everything they've asked me to do. They're monitoring my telephone, they're monitoring my computer, they have access to home visits. Anything they basically ask me to do, I do it. And with a positive yes and, thank you.
But today I come here and I heard for the first time, you're thinking something may have changed.
Yeah. So,
and that might be interesting to our audience. And just,
sure.
Our audience my work is really about changing the prison system so that we don't incarcerate people that shouldn't be in prison.
Right.
And people who are in prison, we try to build pathways or create reforms that will lead to mechanisms for them to earn their way home through merit and through the work they do, rather than just waiting for calendar pages to turn. That's what I do. And I think that there's a lot of people, or I hope there will be people watching our programming, not only who are in jails and prisons, but people out here, and say, well, what could I do? How could a story like Matt's influence the decisions that I make? So what happened that makes you think now there's a possibility that home confinement is not as sure of a thing as we previously had hoped?
The new situation in my case is the lead prosecutor is no longer with the United States government. The new prosecutor, I don't know who that is yet. and I don't know their view on the new cases they're going to take on. And frankly, I'm tired of waiting.
So the waiting itself has been burdensome for you.
It's very taxing, even with a person of my strong mindset, because the weight of the unknown, I think, is probably the worst for everybody, right? When you talk to anyone who went to prison, I think they all say the same thing. The worst is the unknown and waiting to actually be sentenced and then go to prison. And then once you go into prison, which I don't have that experience yet, but everybody says this to me, is much easier, which makes sense because now you have a defined plan, timing, etc. The unknown for me is tough because I, as a father of 5, I have a 4-year-old and a 14-year-old, and we continue to kick the can down the road, and I can't move on with my life. And I mean, yes, I am, because that's the type of person I am, but you can't fully move on with your life because, I'm being watched every which way, as far as my career and all the things I'm building and all the foundation I'm laying for my future, it's all kind of on pause. Of course, I'm working and creating any forms of income to feed my family, but the real long-term plan that I have in place is really put on hold. And that's a problem for me because this could carry on another 2 years, maybe 3 years, who knows? And I don't want to sit around for 2 or 3 years when I could already go into prison and be out by now. It's been 20 months already. So 20 months ago, when they came to me, when the feds were here, had I known the situation I'm in now, I would have chose just to say, you know what?
Take me in.
Just get it over with.
Right.
I really would have.
Right.
I didn't know that at the time. I was looking at possibly house arrest and staying out of prison, which is ultimately the most important thing for me, for my family. But now I've chosen to basically tell the United States government that I don't want to wait any longer. And if I have to forego any cooperation or anything that I've done, I'm willing to forego that to move forward. And
that cooperation, Joe, is just talking about your own involvement and what you did.
That's correct. Yeah.
And accepting responsibility and moving forward.
That's correct. I didn't cooperate against any individuals or any people. There's no, I've never been a rat in my life. I won't ever be one. So I definitely didn't sit down and say, oh, here's this person and do that.
It's just, I did set up a gambling site. I did do this. We came into touch because you were interested in writing your story. And I know that you've written this story. Could you tell us a little bit about what readers can expect when this comes out?
Yeah. Actually, the minute that I'm done being sentenced, I plan on having my book published. It's called Recalibrate. It's about 85,000 words roughly and 16 chapters. And the story is basically the basics of me growing up from a young boy to where I am currently and dealing with the whole process of, the ups and downs of my life, but also about to go to prison and the turmoils that I've dealt with in the last 20 months, really, which shows everything.
For the small role I had in reading it and giving you some suggestions, I'd like to just share some of the lessons that I learned and why I think it's a powerful piece of work for anybody who's facing a crisis. And all of us in going through life, we face crisis and we have to figure out a way to make it through. And that's what I considered in your book to be really a masterful tale of showing how you've done it in numerous times. Not you spoke about gambling and going to prison, but what you didn't speak about here, but I know to be the case, as you wrote about growing up in a single parent household, working hard, becoming a great, whatever it was you're doing, sales for the newspaper, the Orange County Register, I think it was, then a busboy,
right.
And then using your role as a busboy to build a career in a somewhat, I don't even know if we could call it related field, but commodities broker.
Yeah, that's true. It's legalized gambling. You're right.
Well, no, but commodities broker, what I'm saying is this, you kept reinventing yourself, or as your book says, recalibrating. Mm-hmm. You wanted to build better. You don't have a university education, but that didn't block you from getting the credentials you needed to become one of the top performing commodities brokers in the country.
Sure.
And that it's all of these stories that makes it an inspiring book of a man who doesn't let the world define him, but finds a way to carve his own path, and regardless of what the world's doing. If the world's prosecuting you, I mean, I'm really impressed that with your expectations they're going to home confinement, but just said, no, I'm willing to, let's put it behind me. If I've got to go to prison, I'm going to go to prison.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's hard because if I had no children and, I wasn't leaving them behind, so to speak, then it would be a much easier task for me. But nobody ever wants to go to prison. But, having literally a 4-year-old boy and a 14-year-old and my wife, that's a stressful situation because when, as you know, you've been in prison, you can't do much from there, right? So they have to come see you and you can't control things on the outside. And that lack of control is definitely going to be hard for me. That'll be the hardest part. But the fact that I can move forward and have my eye on the prize and move on with my life, recalibrate my life and focus on what I'm going to do next, which I have huge plans and big things happening. I'm excited to move forward with that.
You've been doing that already. I mean, you've built, as you said, you started the video by talking about your Instagram page and you, what kind of relationship did you have with Instagram before you started?
8 months ago, zero.
Zero. And today?
I think I have 84,000 followers on Instagram right now. It varies, obviously.
So from 0 to 84,000 followers or 80,000 plus followers in about 8 months.
Right.
And in addition to that, you've got this book that's ready to come out. In addition to that, you've got a number of major media outlets that are interested in your story, and you expect this to get distribution across the world.
Definitely. I'm in the process of basically doing a documentary on my story, and we're hoping to translate that into a scripted series, whether it's a feature film or even a series on Netflix or television.
And that series will be about what? Matt Boyer's work in building a gambling enterprise, or Matt Boyer's inspiring life of going from struggle to prosperity to prison and back to prosperity?
Well, fortunately for the documentary, it's going to be completely transparent. It's going to be basically a development of my book and my life story. The scripted series side, I can't speak for because, as you know, Hollywood tends to change narratives and, control that. To a degree, I'll have some say-so in that, but they may have me doing things that I didn't do in my life. So I don't want to say that it'll be that narrative because I don't know, but I would like to push that narrative because at the end of the day, my story about my life is exciting and there's tons of arc and ups and downs, but I want people to learn from the mindset and recalibrating and be inspired by how many times I've been challenged. And when you fall, you rub the dirt off, you get back up, and instead of poor me and the victim mentality, all of that's bullshit. Get that out of your mind. Learn to accept responsibility, even when you don't feel it's fair. I mean, there's many times in your case, especially where, you're thrown into, you had your lawyers give you bad advice and, you made these poor decisions because of it. But instead of you being a victim, you just dealt with it. Yeah, I'm very similar.
We all have our own path, and we've got to cross our path, just like that silverback gorilla right there. We got to keep pushing forward. And you got the same build as that silverback there.
That's right. He's got some muscle.
MMA artist. I mean, just really a super cool dude, and I'm really glad to call you a friend. And I thank you for just giving our story to people on Prison Professors. Now, you might be going through something. I really encourage you to use all of the assets and the resources on our website. Everything is free. Always make 3 promises. Never going to lie to you. Never going to ask you to do something I didn't do. I'm never going to charge you a penny. You don't need to hire anybody. You need to do the work and learn from stories like Matt. He's facing the gauntlet. He's not running and hiding. He recognizes he can recalibrate and rebuild, and so can you. So be cool.
Absolutely.